It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 4 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 19th of April in the year of our Lord 2020. If I had a newspaper, I'd hold it up so you could see that we are live. VocalNow.com is the place to be for the Clubhouse Podcast, Season 10, Episode 26, 522 times. This face and or this voice has welcomed you to the Clubhouse Podcast. We're so happy that you're with us. Hope you had a great holiday last weekend. We know everybody's been sequestered. We know that we're closed off, but doggone it, we're here together. Welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast, and I want to start, before we even get moving, I want to send a shout out. I'm going to show you the shirt that I'm wearing right now. Well, you're on the front and the back, it says, "We have your back." If you'll go to Wild Rose Branding's website, which is makelifepersonal.com, these shirts are for sale for $20. The proceeds, half of the money right off the top, is going to go get supplies and support for DFW nurses. We wear this in salute to our nurses. And Wild Rose Branding is our partner in the promotional department. Some great stuff you're going to see soon. Make sure you go to makelifepersonal.com. There's a separate website for this t-shirt that we'll be putting up on social media. Right now, you can go to Wild Rose Branding's Facebook page. They've got the link. It's a separate link from their normal website, which is makelifepersonal.com. We want to give as much support as we can to our first responders and everybody out there that is essential business. We cannot thank you enough for everything you do, and we hope for the next hour and a half or so that we can help take your mind off it. But it's not just me, because sometimes I need to take a break and get myself a beverage, and that way I like to do that on camera. So in order for me to do that, I need to introduce you to everybody else that's on the show today. We start with the official fact checker of Sooner or Gator Productions, and a man that remembered the wardrobe change. You may know him as Igbunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Hey, man.
I wore this shirt in honor of Alex on his post about pictures in our photo album and with the letters and stuff. I wore this for him.
I have no idea what that means. But let's find out from the man he's referring to, my co-host, and a man that knows that this is the way. And he may not know it, but his T-shirt ties into something we're going to talk about this evening. He is Alex. Hey, man.
I want to go out on a limb and say I have no idea what he's talking about. So I am not taking responsibility for anything Don is inanely blaming me for.
You put that post up there, put stuff from your photo album with the letter with purple in it. Photos from your photo album with purple. And I had all those purple shorts. It's on your Facebook thing about a week ago.
I still don't know what he's talking about.
I don't remember. It was my post, apparently. Let's just get this at least one rail on, because I have no idea what he's talking about. It's been a week on Facebook, which might as well be a decade.
Okay.
So let's just get right into it. We have a lot to talk about, and we want to try to keep this thing as much on time as possible, especially since we're streaming live on Vocal Now. Thank you so much to our friends at Vocal Now. They've been working so hard, you guys, to help keep content fresh and available to you guys during this time. Ted, Jimmy, Jay, Ren, everybody over at Vocal Now. They're amazing business partners, and we could not be more thankful that we have them with us.
Special shout out to host of Big 12 Talk, Jay.
Oh, yeah, Jay Gillespie. You're a little distorted, Alex. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, on this end,
it's a little weird.
Okay, but let's dive right in. Something we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and it was a movement that I saw on social media, and I said, you know what? If that happens, I'm going to be on board with it. As we know, we've been hearing since probably right around the Super Bowl that ESPN was going to be debuting a 10-part miniseries called The Last Dance about the 1998 Chicago Bulls. And a lot of people have been saying, hey, man, we're all stuck in the house. Let's move that puppy up, because it wasn't supposed to start until, I think it was Father's Day, right, to coincide with what would have been the NBA Finals. ESPN has heard your cry, America, and tonight, starting at 9 Eastern, that miniseries gets underway with the first 2 episodes. Each episode is going to be about an hour apiece. And if you subscribe to the ESPN Daily podcast, I don't, but it wound up on another one of my feeds, Mike Wilbon had an interview with Mina Kimes about this. And what I thought was interesting in that interview was she asked him if he's watched it yet. And his answer, this was his honest-to-God answer, I have all of it on my computer right now. I'm not touching it. I want to watch it when everybody else does. I'm not even going to live tweet it because I want to watch this. I respect that. I'm on board. My DVR is set. Gentlemen?
I am set as well. I still find it interesting. Just you say it as if they're doing something magnanimous as far as moving it up, but let's be honest. If they had other programming to put on, they'd find other programming and do it as they were planning on it.
They've got plenty of stuff that could be showing, though.
But this is the right thing. If they had something they really wanted to show, they weren't going to change their programming. At this point right now, they're just, throwing a bone.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right.
That in-depth analysis.
Man of many words. He's very eloquent.
Yeah.
I have made it very clear on this show that I refuse to take part in the Tiger King revolution, but there was a stat that I had to talk about on the show. And Alex, I don't know if you saw the stat that was released this week.
Okay. I don't know which stat you're referring to, but possibly.
Don, did you watch Tiger King?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I did.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did.
Did you watch the new episode they dropped last weekend?
No, I did not. They had 7. I heard they were going to drop the 8th, but I haven't.
They dropped it last Sunday, hosted by Joel McHale. By all accounts, it's nothing that you'd missed. Except
it looked like something. I have watched it. The interesting thing about it was I was teasing AJ, Sean's little brother, about throwing that on because we just both simultaneously finished other shows that we were binging. And I was like, oh, yeah, throw that on. And he actually threw it on, and now the entire house is watching it, and I cannot express the joy of just watching the rest of my household go, I have no idea why I'm watching this trash, but I can't look away, and all I can do is giggle to myself.
The Jerry Springer of it all.
Oh, no, Jerry Springer has nothing on this.
Ugh.
It is the guilty pleasure.
Alex, you may want to check your mic settings and make sure that you're coming through your microphone, because it doesn't sound like it sounded on the other show. Okay. I'm not coming across differently to you guys, am I?
No. I hear you fine.
Okay.
Am I okay?
Yeah, you're just normal. It's Alex just sounds different.
Okay.
So here's the stat you need to know. As of, I believe, Friday, the number of minutes that have been spent streaming Tiger King, you with me so far?
I'm listening.
Has topped 5 billion with a B minutes of watch time has been spent on Tiger King. Let that sink in. Let it sink in. Let's divide that. Let's do a little math here. Get your calculators ready. So there's 6, there's 1,000, there's million, there's billion. Divide that by 24, right?
By 24.
Actually, it should be 5 billion. I'm sorry. So 5 billion minutes. So 5, there's 1,000, there's million, there's billion. Divide that by 60.
Yes.
Okay.
And then 24.
That means 8.3 million hours have been spent watching this thing, and 20 minutes. Divide that by 24.
Uh-huh.
Oh, let me try that again. That is 347,222 days.
That's great. It starts.
Divide that by 365. 952.3 years worth of time.
And
has been spent on this atrocity
and
of
you
television.
Are left out on the information and the joy that comes with knowing that you're not.
Let me ask you this, Rob. You call this an atrocity and all that. Okay, and that's you're right. Okay. Did you watch it?
No,
Did you
I refuse to.
Okay.
Okay.
Allow me to interject real quick, Don.
Yeah.
As the person who was pimping McMillions heavily.
I loved McMillions.
As the person who was pimping McMillions so heavily, you should watch this just for the check mark of realizing what you have experienced in this documentary. Because I can tell you right now, I have watched both. Nothing in McMillions. Well, no, there is items of McMillions that are as interesting as Tiger King. But Tiger King is so far off the rails, it makes McMillions look bland.
Can't do it. Won't do it. I am resolute.
This is just the old man Rob of it. You're just going to be
I am resolute. I am standing by. This is the reason the rest of the world hates us.
Well, here's the thing. You're right. Okay, you don't want to watch it. You don't want to be, objective. That's fine. You'll watch the Terrence Malick, but you won't watch this. That's fine.
No. I don't watch Terrence Malick voluntarily. Let's be clear on that.
So what he's saying,
no one forces
Don,
you to go into that theater.
So what he's saying
but
is
nobody
duct tape.
offered me a screening of Tiger King either that I could review for the Empire.
God, I hope Netflix sees this and sends you a screen.
Okay, right now, it's already out there. They don't need the pub at this point.
I don't think it's about that. It's just the torturing of you.
I just think that the show, I actually like it. I found it interesting, and it's one of those, in a way, weird miscarriages of justice and a soap opera of everything that can go wrong will go wrong, just like in the Wiener documentary. It's the same thing, or just like with Richard Jewell.
That was a great documentary, though. The Anthony Weiner documentary was really good. That's the
point of it. It was a good. And I'm going to say, Weiner was a great documentary, one of the best of that year. But it's like, why do you keep on doing this to yourself? Same thing with the Richard Jewell movie. Same thing with this. Why do you keep on doing this to yourself, buddy? Why? It's a train wreck. That
the only good that has come out of this,
but it's still good.
The only good that has come out of this to me is. From the Bob and Tom show, Tom Griswold, one of his sons, has developed a jingle, and it's an a cappella jingle, and all it is just Tiger, Tiger, Tiger King, and then he just keeps building harmonies on top of it, and it just makes me giggle. Like, that's enough for me. I'm
Rob,
good.
Yeah, I have the perfect reason why I love this and why you'd actually find it interesting. You are an intelligent person who usually can peg where everything is going, whether it be movies or TV, correct?
I'd like to say I've got a pretty good radar for that.
There is a 0% chance anybody who was not involved in the making of this documentary had any idea where this show was going. And to be perfectly honest, that's what I enjoyed the most, was every time I thought I was like, okay, so this is where we're going to plateau and go, nope, we're going to find other rails to go off of.
I would like to defer to Michael Scott.
No!
Thank you. HBO Max has announced, J.J. Abrams has announced 4 series that he's going to be developing for HBO Max. One will be Justice League Dark, which I am very excited about, but they haven't said live action animated how this is going to work. Justice League
Dark.
Do you have
a preference on that, though?
I would love to see them. I think it's going to be more effective and probably quicker if it's done animated, but I'd be okay with live action. As long as the guy that played Constantine on the NBC show still plays Constantine, I'm good, because he's amazing. There will be a Shining spinoff called Overlook.
Interestingly, good title.
I'm sorry, there's 3, not 4 series, and one called Duster, which we don't know a whole lot about, but J.J. Abrams is behind all 3, and it is still coming next month. I'm already getting emails that I get it included because I have an unlimited plan with AT&T, so I'm good. Don, go ahead.
But this is on HBO, right?
HBO Max is their new streaming service.
Okay, but if you have HBO and Cinemax, you should be able to get it then.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's
theoretically.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Overlook, right?
Yeah, it's about the hotel.
Okay.
Let's see. Netflix has signed a deal with Boom Studios. They do a lot of they're kind of an indie comics brand that people are very much all about. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s final season will start May 27th. They've bumped it up from the summertime because they're running out of programming. They're doing the same thing with what they would normally do in the summer with their game shows. So be prepared for that. CBS has canceled God Friended Me after 2 seasons. It made it 2 seasons. So if you had that in the over-under, collect your winnings from customer service. Yeah. Freeform has canceled the Party of 5 reboot after 1 season. I thought this was a weird thing anyway.
It absolutely is. It's one of those where you're looking at it, it's like, okay, you're blatantly saying we don't have it. Oh, you own the rights to it, so why not just go for it? Okay, whatever.
Did either of you guys get a chance to be a part of the Disney Family Sing-Along the other night?
No.
That they aired. ABC did a deal where they did a bunch of their talent were singing Disney songs, and they had a sing-along on the screen. Biggest primetime ratings they've gotten since the Oscars.
I was very intrigued by the idea. I liked how they were advertising. I was very keen on the idea. We were preoccupied with something else.
Fair enough. Now let's talk about Alex's shirt for a minute.
Should I just stand? Oh, wait, we only get 1 screen so far.
Well, I'll tell you what. You talk, I'll stop talking, and that way you can stand up and show the screen.
Well, I showed it earlier. It was the mark, the Mudhorn. But what I was curious about was if there was a way, like, we'll have to test this off air, testing with like the dual side where I'll just stand with the shirt and then you could keep talking.
There probably is, but okay, let's talk again. So it goes back to you.
Yeah. So it is the spoiler. Should we spoiler alert?
Minor spoiler alert, but
minor spoiler alert. Are you going to hit the buzzer?
No, because I don't have the combine button on this one. So
you don't have the 3, 2, 1.
I do, but I have to scroll through a bunch of screens to get to it.
All right, then we'll skip it. So enough of us babbling. There has been enough of the spoiler. The insignia for the Mandalorian by the end was the Mudhorn.
Starting on Intergalactic Star Wars Day, the 4th of May, and every Friday after that, Disney Plus is going to air an 8-episode docuseries about the Mandalorian. I want to go to there right now.
Yup.
I am very excited about this. Don, did you get a chance to watch The Mandalorian yet?
No, I don't have Disney. I have Netflix, but I don't have Disney.
Oh, you need to get it.
That's un-American.
That's
I
just.
know.
Oh.
Do you understand that you could be the reason that Disney goes bankrupt because you are not subscribing to Disney Plus?
Well,
you've already ruined the Mamma Mia franchise.
I'm trying to keep the streak from Mamma Mia 2 to this one. Yeah, yes, sir.
Don, I want you, because I know where your soft spot and your tiny little heart is on this one.
Yeah.
Think about how much joy Faith is going to get out of all of these Disney movies. She can put on whatever she wants, and you'll be able to get the Star Wars movies. You'll be able to get the Marvel movies. You'll be able to see the Mandalorian.
I finished the MCU this week, by the way.
Okay, and how many episodes of Mandalorian?
8, I believe.
Okay, because
not enough.
I agree.
Here's the thing, that
8 or
the
10.
Fantastic Faith Ford is not really a big Star Wars person.
That's why you have the Disney movies.
And that's the thing. So if somebody allegedly wants to send me their sign-in and
allegedly, we don't actually do that, Disney.
Okay, yeah. If just
get the streaming service on.
User ID and password.
We don't do that, Disney.
$6 a month.
How much?
$6 a month, man.
Okay. All right.
I think if you paid for the year, it saves you. You get like at least 1 month free out of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you can pay a year up front, just be done with it.
Okay. All right.
It's absolutely worth the money.
We do
just remember, Walt Disney Company, we do not share info.
Yeah. And you know what else is on there?
What?
That you can't get on Blu-ray, and I'm very upset about this.
I think I know where this is
What's
going.
that?
1993's Disney's Three Musketeers.
Oh, boy.
So Donald, Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, Tim Curry, Michael Wincott, Julie Delpy, Gabrielle Anwar. Come on. And you want to see how a segue works? Here's how a segue works. Speaking of Disney's Three Musketeers, this past Friday, I was fortunate enough to have recorded a podcast that will be released next month. It's going to be next month released from friend of the show, Craig Price, and his show called Matinee Heroes, where he and I have a very lengthy discussion about 1993's The Three Musketeers. I'm really excited. I can't wait until he releases it next month so you guys can check it out. Make sure you're checking out Matinee Heroes. It's a great podcast. They've done over 170 movies with different guests and things like that. And he has told me that he and I are going to get together and do another one really soon. We talk about the movie. We actually take some time during that podcast and we recast the major roles if we did it today. And his rule was that you could be anybody in history. And we kind of went two different ways. I limited it to current actors to kind of challenge myself a little bit more. He actually does something very different. I'm not going to tell you what he did because it's kind of really neat the way he did it. So get ready next month, Matinee Heroes, The Three Musketeers, myself and great friend of the show and an amazing moderator. If you need somebody to moderate a panel, Craig is awesome at that. So TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week. The complete series of 30 Rock, Liz Lemon. Am I the only 30 Rock fan in this room?
Yeah.
Never watched it. I'm not against the idea. It's just one of those where, much like SNL, I have better things to do.
If you need something like, if you're like at a point where it's like, I've reached the end of the internet and I need something to watch, just start 30 Rock. It's Alec Baldwin doing comedy. And it's Tina Fey and it's Tracy Morgan and it's Jane Krakowski. It's another show that you watch and you go, oh, I know who that is. I know who that is. I know who that is. It's kind of like The Wire. There's a lot of people that had really good careers that came out of that. China Beach, the complete collection this week.
I can't even tell you what that is.
That is a show. You were very, very young, and I'm not afraid that's not a crack. I mean, that you were literally at best elementary school when China Beach was huge.
But what I mean is like usually there's those kind of aspects where I'd had heard about it or something along those lines. This one's completely.
This was an ABC drama series that introduced the world to one Dana Delaney. It's about a group of nurses in Vietnam.
Interesting.
And it ran for a long time.
So would you say it's like the spiritual successor to MASH or something? Or?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
But it was, I believe, that was an hour long versus a 30-minute show.
Gotcha.
And the complete series and movie for Ultraman X, if you were into that when it was revived. So some sports talk as we get into that. First question, and probably, I wouldn't say it flew under the radar because it got just enough coverage, but I don't know if it got enough discussion, and that is the future of the XFL. We know that they're not going to finish their season this year. There are conflicting reports on the way things are going. I am of the firm belief that the case can at least be made for a 2021 season. There's been talk that it didn't get the television support it needed, which I disagree with. I think it got the right amount of television coverage. I thought that the networks that carried it did a very good job. I also feel that it was in a much better place than the Alliance of American Football was last year. I believe that once this all blows over and we kind of get our ducks in a row, I think there will be a 2021 XFL season. Gentlemen.
I'm actually very intrigued to see what was coming. Supposedly the plan was always going to be to lose money, but to entice one of the networks, we'll keep it loose, one of the networks to buy into it with a big TV deal, and that was what was going to prompt the XFL into the future. The rumors at this point now, they have not liquidated everything. They have not even let everybody go. But the idea is that they're trying to get somebody who believed in the product to then purchase.
Well, friend of the show, Rachel Wimberly, was a season ticket holder for the Dallas Renegades, and she got a call about a week before the announcement where they asked her if she wanted a refund or if she wanted to apply the remaining games to next year's schedule. She chose the latter of those two options, and now she's wondering what's going to happen. Right. She said it was around $70 that was left over. Don?
Right, but I'm sorry.
What I was reading is that they said it's done, and they're already talking refunds to everybody else. And there were people in the offices that came out from inside sources saying, "Yep, they're done. It's finished. Not even next year."
Speaking of refunds, hey Ticketmaster, get your head right.
Yeah, they're saying there's no chance at a 2020. Or there's no chance at the rest of this season,
that's
or the rest of this year, but that they may be able to sell the entity for a 2021 or even 2022 season.
I would love to see it.
Who would buy it? That's the thing.
I think there's plenty of room for programming right now. I mean, we've got to see what the future of the sports are at this point.
Well, and when you think about it, the smart idea with this one was it wasn't competing against the NFL. And there's plenty of guys who got a second look or got a second chance out of it, notably P.J. Walker with Carolina. Donald Parham, who we saw here in Dallas, who looked like a mountain of a man, is now with San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers. Still hate that.
Believe me, you're not the only one. I do the same thing.
But at the same time, you're looking at it, and one of the names I heard that was floated, which I was very intrigued by, was either a joint effort or one of them stepping up between Mark Cuban and Jerry Jones.
Mark Cuban's had some really interesting things to say these last few weeks.
Right. But what I'm saying is somebody like Cuban who has enough of a nest egg, or Jerry Jones who has plenty of money, who can say, you know what, this does make money if I can get it on the cheap. Let me give a weird relay on this. When you could buy the WCW tape library for $1 million and have all of that, somebody can find a way to make a buck off of a little bit of something.
Yep.
And Mark Cuban would be the right guy. And I'm saying that there's at least
Puncher's chance.
50 different people I could think of off the top of my head just at looking in a Forbes magazine that could possibly make something out of this.
But my thing is also like you're talking Jerry Jones. That might be a conflict.
That's very true. But
You
the
know,
idea is then the XFL would become what they originally intended for the AF, and you have a second chance minor league system, and they run games at the Star. So yes, it could be a conflict of interest, but if the owners in the NFL can approve it as a minor league system or something along those lines, you may even be able to get multiple owners in on this to have a secondary team. I mean, there's a lot of guys that come out of college who don't get an NFL contract, but don't want to give it up because they have situations.
An NBA interesting story that came out the other day, and I don't think that you're going to be able to use the word you use right now, Alex.
I will hesitate.
Because the NBA players have elected to take a 25% pay cut right now.
Nope, not garbage.
Not garbage.
Well, but I have a hard time.
Now, Horse on ESPN, you're walking the line there.
That turned out to be garbage. Well, wait, let me put it this way. I believe my cousin Will said it best, is you have guys shooting and playing from their own place. Let me get this straight. Only one person was playing indoors, and that's who won? Go figure.
Altitude. But it's just going to be interesting. Like I said, we spent an entire episode on this recently, talking about the four major sports with friend of the show, Rachel Wimberly, and how this is all going to shake out. This seems to be changing on a day-to-day basis. So we're just going to have to see the way things shake out. It does not look like I'm going to get to see my Atlanta Braves the night before my birthday, and it's very upsetting. But we're just going to have to see how it all works out. I just don't... I'm afraid to even do any conjecture at this point because everything's so up in the air.
Well, there is one thing we could keep talking about, and that this is the week for the NFL draft. That will
coming up Thursday night. Just the potential for absolute wheels flying off the rails doing this draft virtually.
I'm kind of on board, though. I love the idea that we're going back to a time when there wasn't billions upon billions of minutes of footage on each kid, where
my sources tell me that their sources have told them.
Yeah. But the idea that we're going to have some straight analysis without going in depth too far with different things like that. Circling back, I love the post I saw for Joe Burrow where it was, he hasn't had a losing season since he was 5, played for the LSU Tigers, is named Joe, probably going to be drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. He will be Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. I can't tell what Don is laughing at right now.
The Tiger King, because
Thank you. But at the same time,
I boo not the joke, I boo the concept.
But you do have some interesting rumblings where people are thinking, well, we have to move. Certain teams are saying we have to move up if we have equity because these are the only people that we have a library of information on.
Yeah.
And there is some serious rumblings that Cincinnati may be willing to move off that number 1 pick if they get the right package from Miami.
Miami's got the picks.
Yes, they do.
But I will say
Tua will not be good. I'm calling that right now.
The only thing that would draw me to watching the draft, because the draft really just doesn't do anything for me. The pomp and circumstance is just too much. There will be a watch along on YouTube Thursday night.
Oh, please tell me I think it's who you're going to say.
McAfee and AJ Hawk.
Yes! I'm in.
They've already got a verbal commitment from a guest appearance by one Aaron Rodgers. Aaron is going to be on. And Ryan Leaf said he's going to try to stop by too. Apparently, they've become very, very close, and they are.
Can we
he's
clarify
a great
that
guest
stop by means digitally?
Digitally, absolutely.
Yeah.
But apparently, Ryan Leaf and Pat have become very, very good friends, and he is a great guest on that show.
Yes.
That would
Shout out to
be
Craig Gass helping Ryan Leaf into that aspect of his career.
So yeah, I mean, that would draw me in because McAfee's just doesn't care.
Absolutely. Well, he doesn't have to censor himself.
Exactly, and that'll be on their YouTube channel. They do a daily show.
Nice.
He's putting out because his podcast hits Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's been like 2.5 hours a piece lately.
But I do have an interesting question for the both of you in this regard.
Okay.
Since we're doing everything digitally, there's no, as you would put it, pomp and circumstance of the stage, of who's wearing what, or different things like that. How much faster do you think this draft goes compared to prior years?
It's not, because you're going to have all the stuff in between where they're going to want to talk, because the NFL likes their airtime.
That's a chance.
And they have to
I'm
give
very curious about that.
It might be a little shorter, but not much, because they have to give the allotted time between picks anyways.
Well, and I think McAfee said it best. He says, how many of these guys, because one of the things that they're allegedly going to be missing out on is that opportunity where you're with your boys at the house and, you know, you're calling in and all that, and they've got the cameras. How many of these guys are going to be sitting in a room with like 2 or 3 people, and then in the background you're going to hear of the 90 other people that are in another room while the pick comes in. I'm just not a fan normally of the draft in general. I love that, you know, NFL Network's been able to convince the others that it's a good thing to cover. And Richard Eisen tells a great story about that on the Pat McAfee show a couple of weeks ago, about how NFL Network is really, because he tried to get ESPN to cover it more when he was there, and they basically laughed him out of the building. And you know, it's the irony now of how much they put into it now versus what they did then. But it's just never been something I've enjoyed, because you have to wait in some cases so long just to see what your team does. I like it now. I get the notification. All right, that's all right. We're good. We'll move on.
See, now there are some other degenerates. I love the draft because it's something that I can finally wager on, allegedly. But I remember cashing some pretty big tickets on calling people getting picked. So I love the pomp and circumstance. I love the introduction. For me, it's, you know, other rounds where we get people getting picked who I don't know. Like, I've heard the name or I've seen a couple of clips, but because there is that extra 5 minutes between picks or something that I get to see a little bit extra. Plus, it's that, for me, this is like the opening day for the NFL. Like, in baseball, opening day, everybody's 0-0 and it can be anybody's chance. This feels like the NFL equivalent where they could make the move, or they could get that guy that's going to be the Tom Brady that they didn't expect to be much, but winds up leading them for 2 decades. There's that hope, and it's the best part of the start to the NFL season to me.
Fair enough. All right, let's do some music headlines real quick. If you're a fan of Lamb of God, this is a very interesting story. Their lead singer is a guy by the name of Randy Blythe, who has actually been sober since 2012. But part of his journey into sobriety is that he's been very big into non-alcoholic beer. And they have gotten together with a company called Brewdog to do the first co-op non-alcoholic beer from a band and an entity. It's called Ghost Walker, which is based on a song that he wrote just shortly after going sober in 2012.
Interesting.
He's become quite a beer aficionado because of it, and he says this is probably the best tasting non-alcoholic beer you'll find. So,
yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of snarky replies to something like that on the internet.
Get a little closer if you would. You're kind of fainting. You're fading out on me.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, much better.
Sorry about that. But
so
there's going to be a lot of the snarky replies of, well, it's the best tasting non-alcoholic beer. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. So just
some people like the taste of beer. I've never been a big person about the taste of beer, but there are certain people that just like the taste of it. And I get it, you know? And
is a beer aficionado.
You're an old man, absolutely.
Yeah, he's gotten to the point.
Your dad does like him some beer. Ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
and we're looking forward to the next time they come down to visit, because we haven't seen them since the wedding. So
we're talking Thanksgiving, so
that would be great.
If they do, you're gonna meet up. Yeah,
absolutely. We're big fans of your family.
The Padre and the stepmom.
So. Last night was the big One World Together at Home streaming concert that had everybody and their brother, including one. Thank you, Eddie Vedder. Did you see what they raised last night?
I did not.
The money goes as they worked in concert, no pun intended, with a group called Global Citizens and the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. Over $127 million was raised last night.
Nice. I only saw. honestly hate this. I only saw the negative replies to this.
I didn't see. I mean, everything I saw was people being positive. I didn't see any negativity.
Well, it wasn't the direct. It was the instigation of this, where you had a bunch of people protesting and not
because
being helpful. And it's like
the internet.
Y'all are the problem.
Mm-hmm. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That's the kids like to say.
Yep.
Friday night was the That Thing You Do thing. If you missed that, the Oneaters got back together and did a watch along of That Thing You Do, which is my wife's favorite movie. You can actually you can watch the entirety of it apparently on YouTube. It is available.
Really?
And it's a pure watch along. And apparently Steve Zahn hasn't aged in about 150 years. So, but they said
he's still mentally 14, you mean?
Yeah. The cast got together. Colin Hanks came to fill in for his old man. Apparently there's some people with some small roles like Kevin Pollak who dropped by, who I'm a big fan of as well. So you can go check that out if you are a big fan of the Oneaters. Go check that out. Music new releases and places you get music new releases this week. AWOL Nation with a brand new album called Angel Miners and the Lightning Riders. Miners, not underage people that work in mines. Indigo Girls is back this week with Look Long, a group that was ruined for me by South Park. Lucinda Williams, gospel legend, with a brand new album called Good Souls, Better Angels. New album also from Pam Tillis this week called Looking for a Feeling. Robbie Krieger, do we know who he is?
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the Looking for a Feeling. Isn't that the album that oh my God, The Simpsons. I'm drawing a blank right now. That Milhouse's dad tried to...
Oh, I don't know.
I'm almost certain that his title was Looking for a Feeling, or Can I Borrow a Feeling? It's one of those two. I've just completely gone mentally off the rails.
Family always. Apparently, they're doing a VR couch gag on an upcoming episode, if not tonight.
Oh, okay.
Robbie Krieger, who is he?
Don't know.
Nothing.
Original member of The Doors.
Okay.
With a new album this week called The Ritual Begins at Sundown. Also a new album from Rufus Wainwright. You have to really enunciate his name to get it right. Called Unfollow the Rules. New album from Trivium called What the Dead Men Say. And I know you're thinking The Fox. That's a different song. And Willie Nelson with a brand new album called First Rose of Spring. Speaking of roses, we have these rose bushes on either side of the garage here at the at Stately Irvin Manor, and they have started sprouting the spring roses.
Nice.
And the lovely and talented Mrs. Irvin does not want to clip them. She just wants to let them grow. And I said, okay.
Yeah, we got a rose bush in our front yard too, and it's been blooming.
You're supposed to be having peaches here soon, aren't you?
Yeah, the peach trees are growing. They're new. I only got about 12 on one tree, but they're still growing. But they are fruiting, but it's only about 12, and the other one only has about 4. But they're new trees. It's all right.
All right, so big announcement. I know tomorrow, if you are going to be doing some watch-alongs, there will be a watch-along with Kevin Smith from Mallrats tomorrow night on the YouTubes. But Lionsgate, I don't know if you guys saw the press release this past week, but Lionsgate is doing something pretty neat. Every Friday night for the next 3 weeks, they're going to be doing live a night at the movies, where they're going to be for free streaming some of their big movies, hosted by one Jamie Lee Curtis. And she'll be having some very special guests along with her every Friday night at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. This coming week, get ready, because nobody puts baby in a corner. Dirty Dancing will be what they're streaming live this Friday night with Jamie Lee Curtis hosting. Anybody know an interesting fact about that film and one of its stars?
No, I saw
any fact, or are you fishing?
Yeah.
No, this is real. This is real.
Okay.
If you've ever seen the video for Toto's Rosanna, song written about Rosanna Arquette, that is not her in the video. The girl that's dancing in the video is the girl that plays the sister of Baby in Dirty Dancing.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I posted that video today because it was on my friend Heather's Facebook page for her 30-day song challenge. It was a song with someone's name in it, so I used that one today.
I just learned something. I did not know that Toto Rosanna was for Rosanna Arquette herself. Yep.
I didn't know that either.
Was it a crush or what? One of the members of the band had been dating her, and they had broken up. But I think it was the drummer. I want to say, and they had broken up shortly before the song was written.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. About Rosanna Arquette.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Toto 4, great album if you don't own it.
Oh, yeah.
So Dirty Dancing this week. Next week will be La La Land on May 1st. And then May 8th will be John Wick.
I'm getting.
Now, to go along with that, this is pretty interesting. It's for free, but viewers are going to have the opportunity to donate to the Will Rogers Motion Pictures Pioneer Foundation. And what they do is they help workers in the motion picture industry. It's not required, but you will have the opportunity to help people that are out of work during this time. They're also teaming, if you've ever been to Popcornopolis, let me tell you something. One of the things, and Alex is going to back me up on this, being gentlemen that deal with diverticulitis, not being able to eat popcorn is crippling for me. I love popcorn. I've always loved popcorn. But Popcornopolis is one of these websites where you can get all sorts of different flavors of popcorn, and it's amazing. But they're teaming with the people at Lionsgate. You're going to get 10% off your order. Also, Snack Nation is going to do special pricing and shipping during this time where they're doing these live streaming events. So go check out those websites as well for those great deals. Watch Dirty Dancing this week. Watch La La Land next week. Watch John Wick the week after that, hosted by Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, what else could you want? It's amazing.
And again, what network is this on?
It's Lionsgate's YouTube channel.
Okay.
And you can also go to Fandango's Movie Clips YouTube channel as well.
I'm thinking about how that is your triumvirate. It's Dirty Dancing, La La Land, and John Wick.
Well, this is actually the second week. I can't remember what they just did one last Friday, and I can't remember what it was. So there might be a balance there.
But at the same time, it just sounds like a fun triple.
Okay, the Fantastic Fate is a popcorn aficionado.
Oh yeah, she loves her some popcorn. Yes,
okay,
sir.
what's that? Hold on, what's that site?
Popcornopolis. Popcorn, Opolis.
Oplis.
Popcornopolis. Opolis.
Okay. All right.
So last weekend was the grand experiment where Trolls World Tour debuted strictly on streaming services. Now, you can go to our Facebook page and our Twitter feed. Facebook, the Clubhouse Podcast, Twitter Clubhouse Show. We have a link up for a PDF you can download with some really cool things if you want to do some kind of a premiere party with your kids with decorations, and there's coloring book pages and all kinds of cool activities and recipes you can do with your kids that ties into Trolls World Tour. It was #1 on every streaming platform it debuted on last week. Estimate, because it was $20 to rent it, which if you've got a spouse and 2 kids, you're already ahead of the game that you would be if you saw this in the theater. They estimated a $40 million weekend for Trolls World Tour.
Which, awesome. Awesome, because that means that there's a market.
Yep. Now, I don't know that I don't think it's going to affect the industry once the industry gets up and running.
Right. No. But I'm saying for the time being with what we're dealing with, I am desperately hoping that this shows other avenues to certain studios that maybe everybody's pushing stuff back. And I understand that aspect and logic to it. But maybe you have another movie that isn't, say, a Marvel property or a Bond property or something that you don't necessarily anticipate that huge, but you know that your home audience is going to be your big one.
You know,
maybe
there's
you start to push that there.
There's a couple that I thought about streaming, but the price, I'm sorry. I was thinking about watching The Hunt or loading in The Quiet Place 2. It's $20.
Yeah, but Don, if you and Faith went to go see this movie right now on an evening show, do you know how much you would pay just to get in the door?
I know that, but I still think it's too expensive now. You could usually get for like $6-7 for watching something on the pay-per-view.
Right, but you're talking about something that hasn't even hit theaters. You're making a comparison that's not fair and equitable. Yeah. If you're telling me that I can go watch a movie that hasn't hit theaters right now for less than it would cost me to take my wife to the theater, much less dinner beforehand, much less any food we get at the theater, I'm already ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And I can pause it when I want to. I don't have to worry about somebody and their bratty kids that don't know how to behave themselves, that won't shut up, or people with their phones out. You know, it's like I want to say it was Avengers Age of Ultron. It was in 3D and some guy was recording it with his phone and I wanted to throw something. I'm like, dude, it's a 3D movie. How are you going to watch it, dumbass? But I think it's a fabulous idea.
Well, and even and I'll go with this segue because we are A-list members, so it doesn't necessarily go directly one-to-one because we don't pay for the tickets. Mm-hmm. But you think about it, we go get a large drink and say not even the Bavarian Legend, and we're spending less. Don, please let me finish.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And we're spending less than the amount to rent it. So at that same time, we're spending less than the amount to rent it at home. Now, if you're talking about the fact that you'd rather see it in a theater, you're not going to get that option.
Yeah.
They've already bypassed that.
Well, so I don't think that
my answer is you can either wait on it or do nothing.
Don, go ahead.
My personal thing is I thought it was a little expensive. Now, my thing is let's say like this, what happened with like The Hunt and all these new films that just came out that they started doing the download, like the Trolls. Do you think that some of these movies, I mean, honestly, like big blockbusters, even big blockbusters, they'll just say, you know what, we'll put it in theaters, but a week later we're going to put for $20 at the home.
I absolutely do not think that.
You don't think
Here's what I see happening.
Okay.
Something like Black Widow. Now, you might get that on demand faster than you used to.
Yeah.
But Black Widow is going to be given 4, 5, 6 weeks to do the run it needs to do to make its money theatrically. Now, something that's maybe the studio says, we think this movie is viable, but not maybe to the marketing blitz and what it's going to cost us to put this in theaters. This could be the model for that. Like the first A Quiet Place that really had to take the time to establish itself could get that kind of a run for $20. You can rent it, and then all of a sudden it's made $40 million. Now we're going to release the sequel theatrically because we know it's viable. I think this is a perfect testing ground for films that maybe you think have the potential, but maybe the risk outweighs the reward in the eyes of analysts. Absolutely, I can see that.
I think the one that Don was, or the scope that Don was trying to get at, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Don. Yeah. I think you were going more in the, let's call it what it is, the horrible nature of Holmes, Watson, things like that, where they realize, oh, this is not going to go well in the theaters. Let's throw it up for $20 and see if we can make some money that way, because then people don't have to go plan for it. I could see that.
I could see that point too, but I could also, I'm saying even big things. If it works out where, hey, a lot of people are buying it from home and we got a good thing from that, you know.
But what I also could see happening too is we might be screening films a little bit further in advance than we have before. So the studio could make that decision. You know, who says we don't see a movie ahead of time, a month before what the anticipated release is? And the feedback that comes from us and our friends in the Dallas press corps and all over the country, they go, we don't think this is going to be viable theatrically. Let's just push this straight to VOD, get that $20, be done with it, make more than we would have otherwise, and just kind of call this a day. I could see that happening, absolutely. Now, a blockbuster is going to be a blockbuster. Whatever the next, you know, when the next Doctor Strange comes out, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, whenever that comes out, that's going to get a theatrical release. They could not do a press screening and still be okay. They probably still will, but something that's a little bit more of a risk, like back in the day, maybe Guardians would have been before it was released. I could see that I've never seen an MCU movie actually doing that, but I could definitely see something that's on that. Like Bloodborne probably could have done that and they'd have been fine. Which is actually this week's How Did This Get Made, which I enjoyed that film. I don't care what anybody says. But I think that it could change part of the model, but I don't think it'll change the whole model. Because there's still
did you say Bloodborne or Bloodshot?
Bloodshot. I'm sorry if I said that wrong.
Okay. Oh, no. I just wanted to make sure because I was like, I thought Bloodborne was a game. I didn't know they made a movie.
No, it's Bloodshot, the Vin Diesel thing.
Oh, I actually enjoyed that too.
And Adam Scott will be on.
Because Vin Diesel rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I see where you're coming from, Don, but I think that this could make an evolution of the model, but I don't think it ever changes the model completely. It's an excellent question, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of things of this ilk, and that's a great segue, Don, Artemis Fowl now has its Disney Plus release date. It will be June the 12th. I am interested in this film. I don't know that I would have seen it theatrically on my own, outside of the fact that I have A-list, but I'll be interested to watch this on Disney Plus.
I was actually excited to see it in theaters, but I am even more excited to see it on Disney Plus since already having that.
What do you think?
I have high hopes.
Do you think that the sensational Shawnee would be more apt to see a film like that because it's on Disney Plus versus going to a theater, given what her tastes tend to lean towards from a theatrical standpoint?
I don't think this changes her leanings, but I can see it changing other people's.
Okay.
I think this is actually kind of within scope of something she would normally see, but I could see somebody who, say, doesn't get out of the house as much in other areas, whether it be, well, like her sister. I could see her being more apt to seeing it because of it being on Disney Plus, and she doesn't really like to go out to the theater much. More along the lines of being, why am I going to go somewhere to do something I would sit at home with anyways? People who are along those lines, this may actually get a wider viewing audience from it.
We allegedly, almost pretty much kind of sure, why not, have a director for Doctor Strange in the Universe of Madness, and his name is Sam Raimi.
For now.
You know how I feel about
the way this is going.
Him in the Spider-Man films. You know how I feel. Another thing that's been talked about, and I don't know how I feel about this when it comes to Disney because they keep doing this. The animated Robin Hood that they did back in the day is one of my favorite memories of a Disney film when I was a kid.
Interestingly enough, Sean's number 2.
They want a Lion King this thing.
Yeah, but it's Sean's number 2 Disney movie.
I love that movie, and I don't need the pseudo live actionness of it. I don't need it. Don't do this.
I'd be very curious to see if they just wind up CGIing it, and I don't mean that as like they did with the Lion King.
No, that's what they're doing. They're Lion Kinging it.
I see. What I saw was that was one of the options on the table, but they were going to do Robin Hood. I didn't see
it be.
Well, they could. It's not too. It won't be too hard for them to live action it. It's not like they have to use so much CGI like they did on the Lion King when it's mostly people, anyways. No.
This is the animated Robin Hood with the fox playing Robin Hood. Don.
That's why I was very confused.
Yeah. I was confused too. I was like, what do
you mean there's less CGI? How many times have you seen a fox?
My mistake.
What does the fox say?
Okay.
It says at this point means nothing.
I'll have Justin Bieber playing Robin.
You are so lucky.
Why did you sneak this into the existence, Don?
Where's my little D I got?
Coming through,
I got my
Rob.
own soundbite for Bad Joke, remember?
Oh, that's right. We do need that, Rob.
Which one? Oh, no, I don't have that. This is not that board. This is the one on my iPad. Not the one in the studio.
There's
nothing funny down that road. I don't have that here. That's why we got to get back to the vocal studio.
I missed the studio.
Parasite. After 1 week on Hulu, is the second most watched film ever in the history of Hulu.
After what?
After 1 week. I don't know what it became second to.
I'd be very curious to see that.
But I was like, wow.
I want to see that.
By the way, speaking of Hulu, one of the things I watch on Hulu, the Lego Masters finale was this week. And I'm not going to spoil it in case people haven't seen it, but congratulations to the people that won it. I really enjoyed watching that show, and if you need someone to watch, it's fun to watch. And I met one of the contestants in Fayetteville. She was very nice. And two of the contestants are locals here. Friends of Devon's. Let's see. If you live in Los Angeles.
I don't. Real quick before we pivot off of that.
Yes, sir.
Parasite is now the most watched as of...
What did it beat?
As of April 15th. It's not saying what it... Oh. Outstreamed lifetime popular titles such as How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, A Quiet Place, Transformers The Last Night. One of these things is not like the other. And Creed 2. So 3 good movies and one that I have no idea why people are watching.
And one that has a transformer in the barn.
That's the one that's terrible. Well, no, there's no barn. The whole thing just sucks.
So does any of you guys have Hulu? I don't.
Yes.
As I just stated, things I watch on Hulu.
But here's the thing. again, text. Use your account. Sign in. Text. Allegedly.
Hulu, we don't do that either.
Is he just spewing random things now? Has he completely just shut down? Are we watching the reboot of Dawn? Has he deleted himself?
No, Faith has snuck in and unplugged him and plugged him back in to see if that works.
What was that?
He's trying to get us to give our logins for Hulu because he's being cheap
and
again.
Disney, yeah, exactly. Well,
I am very disappointed in you as a human, Don.
Hey, my mortgage just went up. We got the first year.
Welcome to home ownership, where all of our mortgages would go up.
Year, after your first year, you get that new. By the way, here's your property tax. What it actually was.
Don, this is normal. This is not something that you're.
Why do you think I moved out of Mesquite, Don? Remember that whole story? My taxes going up 41%.
I know.
Speaking of things going up 41%, if you live in Los Angeles, this is one of the coolest things ever, and this would make me move to California.
That's a big one.
Yesterday and a week from today, you can get food delivered from movies.
What?
You heard me.
Yeah, I heard you. It doesn't make sense to me.
Kevin Smith is teaming up with they're building a pop-up movies that after all this passes in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And they are talking about doing this in other cities as well. But they are teaming up with a food delivery service. Right now it's a very limited menu, but they're going to have a full-blown menu. They're working with a chef who has done other things like this.
Is it Chef Mike? Please tell me it's Chef Mike.
I don't remember his name.
I hope it's
Chef
Mike.
Stay with me. You'll get a Movies messy lasagna sandwich, vegan or non-vegan, because Kevin's vegan now, that comes with hater tots. The toy surprise is an autographed card for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which will give you the opportunity to be one of the very first people through the doors when the pop-up restaurant opens later this year.
Oh, wow.
And guess what the dessert is?
Oh, no, I can't.
Chocolate-covered pretzels, kids.
Ooh.
I need a picture of Michael Rooker on the bag.
I agree 150%. And you know he'd do it.
Oh, absolutely. No, he'd do it and not know what he was doing.
Apparently on the Hollywood Babylon YouTube show this week, Kevin does put on camera the look of the delivery box that it comes in. And not only that, but all of the proceeds from this for this next week, if you're out there in the LA area, is going to go to an organization called Not Us Without You. And they provide meals to families in need that have been affected by COVID-19.
That's awesome.
So go check that out. This is, and he said they're going to try to do this in other cities too. They're just starting it in LA, but he goes, they have intentions of going to other cities to do this.
How quickly did you start blowing up the social?
Dude, if it happens here, I'm customer one.
Well, what I'm saying is how quickly did you start blowing up the social media?
I just heard about this like yesterday. I haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I don't think.
But he talked about it today on Babylon.
Nice.
DVD and Blu-ray new releases and places you get DVD and Blu-ray new releases this week.
Which is Amazon at this point.
Ip Man 4, the finale, if you're into the Ip Man series. And the Cremator gets the Criterion Collection treatment this week. Some tech stuff. Deadpool now available in Fortnite. So if you're playing Fortnite, you can now use Deadpool. Sony has revealed the new controller design for the PS5.
It's probably close to the same thing.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bit thicker. Cinemark is saying that they're going to plan to reopen in July. AMC has said they've got enough money to get them through July.
Interesting.
And NBC's Peacock service is still launching this month, but they're saying most of the original content's going to wait until next year. But there's already trailers out there for their Saved by the Bell reboot and the Punky Brewster update.
Wow. Punky Brewster.
They both look a little rough. I'm just telling you. Punky's husband or boyfriend or something played by the Freddie Prinze Jr., I believe.
Well, I like Freddie Prinze.
And they did not show Zach in the trailer for Saved by the Bell. It was just Jesse and Slater. Slater's like the gym teacher now. Yeah, it's rough.
That's totally what you'd expect. Like one of the most vivid memories I have is him being fat wrestling champion, and they made him look like Hulk. That's all I can remember.
I just remember him playing that really basic drum beat in the middle of the gym that one time, and I was like, people were like, woo! I'm like, that was a 4/4 beat. Like, I can play that.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's wrap up the project, shall we?
All right.
Okay, then.
All right. So over the last month, I have been watching all of the MCU movies and all of the James Bond movies. I am proud to announce I have now completed both of those projects. I
have restarted my Bond watching, so I'm catching up to you.
Where are you at this point?
I'm just entering the Roger Moore era.
Oh, okay, so you've made it to past Diamond Forever.
Oh man, what that was.
all
I know is first Bond movie with a nipple in it. Yay.
So what we've been doing is, as we've been going through all the James Bond movies, we've been talking, because a big part of the James Bond movies are the theme songs. So we've been talking about the films themselves, and I've been kind of rating the films and the theme songs, which don't always line up. There's been some films that have had great themes and I did not enjoy. And for instance, and the other way around, The Living Daylights was an absolute example of a theme I hated, but I enjoyed the film more than I probably should have. So last week we made it all the way up through The World Is Not Enough, if I got that correct, Alex?
That is correct.
Then let's get started.
Into the 2000s.
We have crossed the millennium threshold.
And we are on to 2002's Die Another Day by Madonna.
Let's get into Die Another Day.
Let's not.
Rosamund Pike, always great. Now, yeah. I also own a DVD that's called Bond Girls Are Forever, and it's Miriam Dabo, who was in The Living Daylights. She interviews a lot of the Bond girls from over the years, and it goes up to Die Another Day. I'm not even going to bury the lead. Halle Berry is an albatross in this. The fact that they were going to give her a spin-off series at one point, somebody needed to be drug tested. She, just like in John Wick and Annabellum, or Parabellum, I'm sorry, Lady Annabellum, Parabellum. If you take her out of that film, it makes it doesn't make any difference. Her in this film doesn't do anything to enhance this film. It's just, she's just not good. It makes me sad because this is the last film that Brosnan did. And because of that, it just lands with a whimper. And I love Pierce Brosnan, and I love what he did with the role, but this was so far gone that I can't excuse this film in any way, shape, or form. I can't.
Yeah, I don't exactly have fond memories of this one, but honestly, other than GoldenEye, every one of Brosnan's outings was kind of meh for me.
Well, I said it, like, GoldenEye was great, and then it just careens into a ditch further and further with each film after it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how most of them have been, though.
But one thing I will give Die Another Day is the way they did the main title sequence. Because it's one of the very few Bond films that he doesn't get away as the main title sequence starts. So you're seeing after he's captured by the North Koreans, you're seeing how he was tortured by them over a period of, I believe it's 3 months that he was there. And I thought that was kind of cool. And I love the theme song. I thought Madonna killed it here. It's enough to be that James Bond style without being too old-fashioned, if that makes sense.
So what you're saying is that she kind of made it her own without doing the Bassy of it.
I would say that. I mean, I thought she did a great job. It's still in heavy rotation when I play music.
Really?
There's a great remix of it that's at the end of the film.
That I do remember.
I thought she did a great job. She has a cameo in the film, which should have not happened. Well, it was what it was. Sheena Easton, the only one to be in the main title sequence, but Madonna has a cameo in the film, so it's not really the same.
Right.
But overall, there's still, I don't know if it's if it really is my least favorite of all time. I think it might depend on the day, but it's definitely nowhere near the upper quarter of those films.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds like we're ready to move on.
Yes, we are. I sat there and looked at that movie on my table and like, oh God, I got to sit through this. Just like I felt like that same way I felt about Far From Home. I was like, I've got to sit through this.
Well, we got a 4-year gap before we get to 2006, Casino Royale.
Now let's get into it. Daniel Craig, baby.
My Name by Chris Cornell.
When they announced Daniel Craig, I had seen Layer Cake. And if you haven't seen Layer Cake, you need to check this film out. It is an amazing film. But the producers saw him in Layer Cake and said, this is the guy. This is the guy. A lot of people... Go ahead.
The first time I saw him was when they were introducing him, and I'm like, I'm sorry, James Bond looks like he's afraid of water and is wearing a life vest. I have a problem with this. And you know what? I am so happy that I was wrong. I
mean, I was in from the moment they announced him. Like, you know what? And a lot of people were like, he doesn't really fit that physical mold. I'm sorry, that previous Bonds did. First of all, and I'm not afraid to say it, no pun intended, piercing blue eyes.
That is true.
That was one of the biggest issues people had. Those eyes are so blue. But I'm like, aren't you splitting hairs at that point?
Like, yeah, he wasn't an attractive man, but he has a magnetism with the eyes.
Exactly. And he's got the Ric Flair of it all. He makes you believe it.
That's also true.
You know? And the fact that we were going back to Casino Royale, a lot of people have seen this as a reboot, which I get, but the problem is you have the same M. Which isn't a problem because I love Judi Dench and she can do whatever she wants. Sure, she did Cats, but that's a whole different issue.
We like to give her a pass on that.
But her as M, like, and especially her interplay with him has really kind of sold me on it is a fan theory. It's not canon, but that James Bond is in quotation marks. When you become a 00, you're assigned a name, and 007 is always James Bond. You can make that argument with the way they did this going into Casino Royale, which Casino Royale has been done before, but it was out of canon.
Yes.
And they updated it to where Texas Hold'em was the game because at the time Texas Hold'em was everywhere, and that didn't bother me.
It was the most known game. It had already had its run, but it was past at this point.
But now we're going back to that darker type of storytelling that they were known to do with Timothy Dalton, and I really liked it because they've tailored from that point forward. We've kind of tailored Bond to the world that we're in now, where things are a lot more immediate, and we're not waiting for things to happen. And there's a deeper, darker storytelling to it, which I absolutely love. You still have the shoot 'em up stuff which tends to make the movies a little bit longer. And I get that, but Casino Royale showed us this is a new Bond. It's about to go down. And I could not have been happier when I saw this movie for the first time.
And Mads as Le Chiffre. Oh, so good.
Mads Mikkelsen is amazing, regardless.
He's in the phone book territory. Like, I don't care what he's doing. I would watch it.
And I agree with you. His Le Chiffre is amazing. Oh, Don's got some new lighting in the room. What's going on over there, brother?
He's shopping on
it's so dark in here. I can turn it back off.
No. It looks great. I'm telling you, it looks good. Okay. It looks good. It looks good.
All right.
Looks like you got a nice warm fire going.
Don's fireside chats. From a theme song standpoint, I love Chris Cornell. You'll also notice, and I thought this was really interesting, the main title sequence for Casino Royale has no women's silhouettes in it.
I did not notice that.
The reason that decision was made was because by that point in the film, he wasn't a 00 yet. So because going into the movie, he hadn't gotten 00 status, he didn't get all the fringe benefits that came with it. And I thought that was a really cool
That's pretty cool.
thing. It's the first fully animated intro since Dr. No. Which another, we're starting over, we're starting fresh. I don't like it as a Bond theme, but I like it as a song. This is I think the only time I've ever been able to say that if it wasn't a Bond theme, it would still be a good song. But in the context of a Bond film, I did not enjoy it.
See, and I've never thought of it in the context of it as a theme, but this is my number one.
Really?
This is, I'm a huge Chris Cornell mark. And something about it just hit the right way. Lyrically, it speaks to we know why we're here, but this is a fresh start. And honestly, and I think part of this is the fact that Casino Royale and the song combined are both top 3 for me. And it's not even close, so they both elevate each other. And
I've been listening a lot to SiriusXM, the covers channel lately. Mm-hmm. And today his cover of Nothing Compares to You got played. It's so just good. Chilling. It's so good. I like it as a song, but I don't like it as a Bond theme. But a great movie, and I just reliving that film. It was so much fun to watch.
I cannot wait to get to that point, but I got to slog through some other stuff.
All right, let's go.
All right. 2 years later, 2008, Another Way to Die from Jack White and Alicia Keys from Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace, a lot of people give grief to. It is the shortest Bond film in the franchise.
And still feels too long.
I love this movie.
Oh.
I love this movie. Number one, it's the first time that a Bond film has been a direct sequel to the film before it. So Quantum of Solace literally picks up where, I almost said Spectre. We're not there yet. Where Casino Royale leaves off. And I thought it was an interesting choice because first of all, number one, if you remember, we had a writer's strike in 2008.
You did tell me about this, yes.
This film was mostly done almost on the fly because the first draft of the script was done 2 weeks before shooting started. And there's a couple of people in this cast that have said that's the thing they learned from working on Quantum of Solace is they will never work on a film again if it doesn't have a finished script because it was a nightmare for a lot of people. There were a lot of different directions this film was supposed to take. But I really like how it took something that could have been a throwaway moment of spoiler. Let me find the thing because we're definitely going to need to alert this time.
Are we going to really need to? It's a 12-year-old movie.
Yeah, but some people haven't seen it though. Spoiler alert.
3, 2, 1.
With the death of Vesper Lynn in
top 3 Bond girl.
Oh, she was amazing. I think we both agree the greatness of Eva Green.
Yes.
That could easily have been a throwaway moment because how many women has Bond been involved with that, Goldfinger, which
could have been just a move along,
which will come up later. But the fact that we actually took that moment and worked it into the plot of the next film, showing that even James has to deal with grief sometimes and how he deals with it.
It was such a modern thing that wouldn't have existed in priors.
This was an absolute baller move from a screenwriting standpoint. And this is one of the reasons I love Quantum of Solace because it breaks the Bond mold. It's Daniel Craig really cementing himself as Bond. And it shows, and if you notice, in every Daniel Craig movie, he gets suspended or he gets revoked. That's the thing with his Bond. He can't say 00 for an entire film. But I've always, as much as I loved the interaction between Judi Dench and Pierce Brosnan, the absolute great, brilliant chemistry of Judi Dench and Daniel Craig cannot be denied. And that contentiousness, but yet that same, like one of my favorite things is where, is it this one or is it the next one? No, where she says like, is she your mother? And he says, she likes to think she is sometimes. Like that's one of my, I believe that's the next one. That sums up their entire relationship.
Well, like, but the other part is feels,
go ahead.
Sorry, and one of the things touching on, you discussed it earlier. I've been holding on to this baitedly, but like she had a repartee with Brosnan, but it was kind of more a very business oriented. Where Daniel Craig has this other aspect where you feel like there's another layer to that relationship, whether or not they're actually related, like it is his mother or his aunt or something.
Well, she feels more. It's like she feels more emotionally.
She feels more maternal. Yeah,
right. Whereas with Brosnan, like right off the bat, she was just like, she literally calls him a relic of the Cold era, Cold War era. Whereas with Daniel Craig, it's more like she's now been in the role for a while, and this is where the timeline gets screwy of a reboot versus just a different person playing the role, where she's now more she's less the queen of numbers and she's more the queen of risk. And this film, right, this film just deepens that relationship. And Quantum, I'm assuming Quantum was supposed to carry longer as an organization, but because some discussions led to another organization's name allowed to be used by the franchise, we pivoted, but I think it pivots brilliantly, but I don't want to get there just yet. Now, from a theme song standpoint, it's the first time that it's been a duet. The first time I saw this film, I hated this song. Hated it. Hated everything about it. And I love Alicia Keys, and I love Jack White.
I was going to say, great talent, but
for some reason, when I watched it last week, I didn't mind it as much. I actually found myself kind of bobbing my head a little bit at a couple of points in this song. I don't think I like the song more. I just think this is the reverse effect of Casino Royale, that if this wasn't a Bond theme, I would like it more. But because it's a Bond theme, there's a standard that I hold to it that it can't measure up to.
Okay. So it's more of the attachment to it, yeah.
It's better than Goldfinger.
We'll get back to that. But so moving right along.
I think Don, any questions so far?
No, not really. I started watching the Bond stuff too from the beginning. I'm at the first 5 seconds into Dr. No. So
you're doing this while we're doing the show? Is that what you're telling me?
Hey, Don.
No.
Hey, Don, if you had a Hulu account, your own Hulu account, you could watch all of them.
I thought that was Amazon Prime.
Oh, wait. Is it Amazon Prime? Yeah, it is Amazon Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime account, right?
No.
I'm not giving you that password.
Okay.
Well, you saw that apparently they've gone to monthly billing now.
Yeah, I think the Fantastic Fate 4th actually has Amazon Prime.
If she has Amazon Prime, you can watch them in 4K right now.
They look amazing.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
There's some movies that don't look like they translate well for 4K. Every Bond film has translated amazing.
My Blu-rays look amazing.
Okay. Now,
I would love to do a side-by-side at some point when we can of your Blu-rays versus the 4K on Amazon Prime.
Okay. I'm just going to say this respectfully, that I know you're a Bond fan, but a person who could out trivia you, out Bond fandom to you, and everything else was our late, great Gary Murray.
Oh, I will never go up against Gary Murray.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. And I actually posted a memory today of us getting that change.org petition up to get that bridge named after him. Gary was a huge Bond fan, and I love. Gary and I had Bond conversations on more than one occasion.
Yeah,
and he's one of the very few people on this planet that I really feel like I could go at least toe to toe with. That I could hold my own against his expertise. He's one of the very few people that I think could beat me.
Yeah, and I said no disrespect, but
no, none taken.
He watched
a compliment.
The thing to point to make is I have his Bond films, his Bond collection. That's one of the few things
you should be watching them.
I've watched.
This started off so well, and then got bad, and then got great, and then got bad again.
Apparently, the reboot is still getting itself back up to operating level. I don't know what's going on. Let's move on. We got 2 more to go.
All right.
And we're running out of time.
4-year gap to 2012, Skyfall by Adele.
Let's just
I know that song.
Put it out there. One of my favorite Bond themes ever. This song, first of all, love the Adele. Big fan of the Adele, waiting for the new album. She is able to capture the classic Bond vibe while keeping her own vibe, while keeping it current in a way that no one else has been able to do.
And I love that movie.
This theme song, and a lot of people dog it, but I love this theme song. It is one of my favorites of all time. It is.
Wait, I've never heard anybody dog this.
Chick McGee hates it.
Well, that's one narrow niche for you.
That's fair.
I've never heard anybody dislike it.
And as a film,
so good.
The deepest Bond script ever done. There are layers to this character that they peel back that just keeps this. I mean, Sam Mendes, and I said this in my mini review, Sam Mendes as a director choice was very strange for me. Because remember, this is the guy that did American Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, ooh, and then, but he ends up doing back to back because he does Skyfall and Spectre. And I was like, but his use of color, his use of depth to go along with the storytelling is brilliant. The scene in the casino alone is gorgeous. And gosh, bless you for getting rid of that Walther PPK when you did. Because I really wanted more from that gun because it had the fingerprint thing on it.
Uh-huh.
This movie, and Javier Bardem, come on.
Always. Yeah. Well, I got the other one. And mini spoiler alert, biggest gut punch of any Bond movie.
At the end?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get there.
Okay.
This is also the deepest we've ever looked into M in any Bond film.
Exactly.
In 23 films, M has always just been the catalyst. M has never really been, like, you don't learn a lot about who M is and M was. In this one, it's all out there on the table. And as I like to call it, 2/3 James Bond, 1/3 Home Alone, but that's a whole different issue. Javier Bardem as the villain.
For the record, I loved the 1/3.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying the 1/3 was bad, but I just want to prepare people if they haven't seen it. But
this might be my favorite Bond film.
It's hard, man. This one is way up there for me. And all of the Daniel Craig movies I have loved, all 4 of them, and hopefully he'll be 5 for 5 come November. But this film hits every level for me. I loved everything about it. We get the new Q and Ben Whishaw, who I absolutely this is Whishaw comes in Skyfall because it was still because we didn't have Q in Quantum, but we had John Cleese in.
I wonder if that's why I had a problem with it. I wonder if that's one of the things I had with Quantum.
You didn't need Q in Quantum, though. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Quantum was about James and his journey after losing the love of his life and trying to find out why and how. The ending of Quantum is just brilliant when he finally gets closure on the Vesper chapter. That was dope, the way that worked out. Now, from Skyfall, now the fact that we don't understand what the title means until late in the film, that didn't bother me at all. This film hits every note for me. Depth of character, depth of script, the fight in the elevator shaft, the way Mendes lights that is amazing. And just everything about this film works for me, including the theme song. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to say about Quantum. So the instrumental that plays over the end credits was literally the last thing that they could write, and they had to write it real quick. And you know what the name of it is because they couldn't name it?
What?
It's called Crawl. End Crawl. That's literally the name of that song, which I thought was wonderful. But no, Skyfall, it hits on every note. It hits everything that it needs to do, and it does more than any Bond film, in my opinion, has ever done, and it does it brilliantly. That's your cue.
Oh, I apologize. I was doing research on Q.
Oh, okay.
Because what you had was Desmond Llewellyn, who passed.
God rest his soul.
And you had John Cleese, who was not Q. He was R.
He became Q in the second film. He renamed him. Because he was not considered as good as the quartermaster, Whishaw looks like he came in with Skyfall. Yeah, because there was no Q in Quantum, but you also understand why.
Casino Royale, apparently.
But you also, but wasn't Cleese in that one? Oh no, they just sent the gadgets to him.
Right.
Did you also know why they didn't keep the R name?
Go on.
Because it was to call someone R with a British accent, it just didn't sound good. So they by default renamed him Q the next movie. He called him Q. And you are right. It was Skyfall because he sees him in the art museum and he says, "I'm your new quartermaster."
Right.
He says, "Hello, Q."
Yes.
But but that's why that happened. And I like Ben Whishaw a lot. He brings that he's young. He brings that new generation vibe to it that I really dig. And again, Desmond Llewellyn, God rest his soul. The day I found out he passed away, it crushed my soul. He's the one that I took from when people say, "How are you doing?" I say, "Well, it's another day where the job still wants me and the good Lord don't." That comes from him. That is a quote that he said on an Australian talk show that I stole and I say to this day.
The one thing I have with Ben Whishaw, though, is like it doesn't feel like that's the one thing that doesn't resonate with me in these Daniel Craig movies as much as I love them. Yes, he's young. He has that aspect to it. But something about it for me with Q was always being the I've seen everything, so nothing surprises me, but I still get excited about gadgets kind of deal. Like there's some level that's missing that prior Qs had. Anyways, so moving right along, we have a 3-year gap to getting to The Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith from Spectre.
Boy, I go back and forth on this one just because as a film, I love Spectre. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Anything with Christoph Waltz.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the great
anything he's in is good.
One of the great movie villains of our time. Let's just call it for what it is. The Writings on the Wall.
Into the Bond story.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing with The Writings on the Wall. Oh, and I forgot to mention in Quantum of Solace.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Quantum of Solace that he's in? Or is it in Skyfall?
He who?
In one of the two, David Harbour with a mustache.
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, and it's the full porn mustache he's carrying.
I think that's Quantum of Solace.
I double check that because I think it might be Skyfall because everybody's coming after James for some reason. Maybe it was Quantum. I don't remember. But we got Batista, Inspector, with
one word as a line. Basically, that was intimidating,
and he was great. He was great in that film. My favorite part, one of my favorite parts of that film is when the guy pulls up the headline of the car in the river and he just emails M and says, "Are we sure Bond's in London?" Like, I was like, uh-oh. So the reason we get to have Spectre is there was a guy that owned the rights to the name for literally for decades. That's why you have the scene in, I believe it's Live or Let Die. Go ahead.
Quantum of Solace.
It wasn't Quantum. Okay. Is it Live and Let Die where Roger Moore picks up Blofeld, it's never actually said, with the helicopter and dumps him in the chimney?
I could not tell you. I'm not through there yet.
So that was kind of the middle finger to the guy that owned the rights to Spectre and wouldn't let Eon use it. So they haven't been able to use Spectre's name in decades. So they finally got an agreement worked out with the guy so they could use it now. So the challenge was, how do we work this in there with everything else we've done? And it was brilliant. The way they were able to tie all 4 of those films together into one entity and say everything you've wanted has been leading to this, I thought was brilliant. I love this movie. The opening with the Day of the Dead celebration, with the absolutely senseless blowing stuff up, which you absolutely have to have in a James Bond film. But from a theme song standpoint, this is the reverse of everything else we've talked about. This does not, and this is what I feel about with Billie Eilish coming up. When I first heard it, I was like,
it felt very blasé to me.
It's better in context with the credit sequence. Mm-hmm. And this credit sequence also could be one of my favorites. The way this one's done.
For Your Eyes Only was the helicopter Spectre and all that.
Okay. Yeah, that was
1981.
Thank you, sir.
For Your Eyes Only.
Appreciate that. This is one of my favorite credit sequences ever, is Inspector. The way it was done and the way you're seeing everything that's the montage that cycles through everything else. And the first time you have a shirtless Bond in the opening credit sequence.
Well, as Daniel Craig might be the only one that could truly have pulled that off.
That's fair. But it's so well done. And the pacing on Spectre is probably the best of the 4 Daniel Craig films. Because it's 2.5 hours long. But it's paced so well. Because the problem with Skyfall is you kind of have the false finish.
That is true.
And you look at the clock and you're like, wait a minute, I've got another hour of this film.
And the one thing is like if you go to Skyfall, there's 2 distinct images in my mind that aren't done by lighting or anything, but that train.
Oh, absolutely. The train sequence?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing about Bond. You love water and you love trains. Like, that's the main 2 things you get out of that. Oh, also, Quantum was the first Bond film ever to have a foot chase, a car chase, an air chase, and a train chase. All
really?
Yep. Quantum was the first. And that was another thing I loved about Quantum, too, is you also had to deal with, you got the introduction of Moneypenny.
The new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, was it that or Skyfall? No, it was Skyfall when he was dealing with recovering from being shot.
Yes.
And you had to deal with that, too, because Javier Bardem's character goes through the whole, are you sure you passed? Kind of a thing. I love all 4 of these films, and I think they're amazing, and people could use Casino Royale as a jumping on point, and that would be fine by me. I'm ready for November.
Kind of a jumping on point. It kind of is a jumping on point.
It really is.
It's a hard reset.
It is, but I don't know. I keep going.
To me, it's a hard reset.
I keep going back and forth on that. But I'm ready for November, but I'm not ready for November. I'm ready for No Time to Die because I've seen, now granted, it's going to be a kidney floater because it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's the longest Bond movie of all time. But it's Daniel Craig's last one. And so I'm a little upset that we're seeing the end of his era. He did more than Dalton. He did less. He did more than Brosnan, but less than Connery and less than Moore. This will be his 5th. Brosnan did 4, because I can see the look on your face.
Well, I was looking for how many Moore did.
Moore did 8.
Did he now?
He did 7 or 8 because Connery did 1 less than him.
Let me ask you, Craig, did he want to quit? I mean, is he just tired?
He didn't want to do No Time to Die.
Oh, really?
But they talked him into it. They threw a ton of money at him. He actually doubled his salary between Casino Royale and Quantum. But he was actually contracted to do this one. This is also the 25th Bond film. Yeah. So to me, I know that it's an absolute taxing on your body to do this role, but I just felt like this was a perfect, do the 25th one. You've done 5. You can go out on top. They just haven't said what they're doing after this. I've heard a bunch of different rumors, but
there's been everything thrown at the wall.
So we're just going to.
I know what well, let's try this. If you had your pick, where would they go after this?
I don't know, because I feel like you've got to go. I don't want them to go with somebody established. I've heard Hiddleston's name thrown around. He's a better villain than he is a hero, in my opinion. There's nobody out there that I've heard Cavill's name thrown around, which I deal with that, but I want it to be somebody absolutely fresh. I want a fresh face in this role.
See, and I've been constantly leaning towards Elba.
How about you? He has said it. Even he has said he doesn't want it. Now, if they want to make me a different 00, and you wanted to explore that, he'd be okay with it. He doesn't want 007. And I think Idris, as much as I love Idris Elba, and have since he was Stringer Bell, one of the greatest villains in the history of television, I would want him to establish a different character.
Okay.
Whereas in most cases, this role has defined the actor, not the other way around.
Let me restate my position. I love Idris Elba's work. I love the idea of opening it up to something a little different. Still keep that Daniel Craig feel, but maybe you do have an African English Bond.
A Bond of color. Call it a Bond of color.
Well, sure, in that aspect, or even I've heard the rumors about the idea of doing a Jamie Bond, and I'm like, you're going to have to convince me on that one.
Yeah.
But again, these could be other double O's. You could do spin-off series, and I'd be okay with that. I just don't know who I'd want to be 007. That's my thing. And I don't have a solution.
It sounds like you don't want somebody that you would be able to peg. You want to be, that person.
I want it to be somebody that no one's ever heard of, that just fits it, that fits the evolution of how the storytelling is going versus the other way around.
I get you.
Because really the only actor that you can say was universally known before taking the role would be Brosnan. Moore was very popular in Europe. Nobody knew who Lazenby was. Nobody knew who Connery was outside of Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
No. The one I was trying to peg was Dalton.
You know who Dalton was if you saw Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't do the nanny until after he was Bond.
That's fair. God, I forgot that existed.
All right, gentlemen, let's get out of here for the evening. We want to thank each and every one of you, whether you're streaming right here on Vocal Now or whether you're streaming on the app, on the website, whether you watch us on our YouTube, wherever you are. If you're watching this program, we are thankful for you. You are part of the empire. Make sure you check out our website when we can get more reviews up for stuff. Oh, and Vocal just liked our tweet, so I just got that on the old. Apparently, they were listening. www.theclubhousepodcast.com. Find out everything you need to know and some stuff you don't. Got some good stuff coming from that soon. You can follow us on all your social media. Twitter is at Clubhouse Show. Everything else is The Clubhouse Podcast. All three words in that order. You wind up somewhere else. Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, all the good stuff. YouTube. You can follow me on social media if you would like. Everything is Yes, That Rob Urban. That is spelled ERVIN. The lady of the house is Jen Rome. You can follow her on Instagram at Jen Rome Home. That is ROHM.
I am Vexploit on all social media. Remember to catch our regular shows on the Vocal Media Network at vokalnow.com. If you'd like to help with the other show, you can check us out at prowrestlingtees.com/thecheappopcast.
And on Twitter, I'm at Igbunu, IGBUNUUU. Also,
don't break the feed this time.
And also email me, Don, at clubhousepodcast.com.
Email Don for information on how we can come to a live show. We want to send a shout out to everybody, our friends at the Dallas International Film Festival that have been doing some virtual panels and stuff this weekend. We miss you guys and we can't wait to see you again. Also want to send a quick shout out. Wild Rose Branding did the t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. Proceeds are going to help DFW nurses. We're going to have that link for you on our social media. Make sure you go to Wild Rose Branding on Facebook. They have a different link from their regular website, so go check that out. Charlotte Parker's on Pinterest because we're morally obligated to say that. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things pop culture. We're so happy that you're with us. Make sure you join us each and every week, because we'll be back next week. So until next week, for Don, for Alex, for the Empire, for Jen Rome, I'm Rob. The clubhouse is closed. Brittany Palmer's been doing a lot of Facebook Live, so keep up with her.